Hey everyone, I'm Joe, and today I'm going to be doing a video that I had planned to do a long time ago, more than a year ago now, but I couldn't find the words to do it at the time. But recently, due to the BookTube babbles, I was reminded and inspired to try to do it again, and I've actually managed to figure out what I'm going to say this time, I hope. Anyway, and that is, I'm going to talk about auto-buy authors. So, first of all, what is an auto-buy author? So, to me, that is simply an author that I have either a long experience with, and I've really enjoyed a large majority of their books. By not necessarily everything. I don't have to say, oh, every book they buy is a work of genius, but I do have to enjoy a majority, a large portion of. Or likewise, it has to be an author that I just think has a certain way about their writing that makes me want to keep reading their books, future and both past. Now, in this video, I'm going to do two sets of authors. I'm going to do 3 authors that are indeed long-established authors that I have had some history with in the past and are pretty well-known authors. Then the next 3 authors are going to be authors that are fairly new in terms of actual writing. They do not have as many books out as other authors on the whole, and I predict they will be auto-buy authors once I've read a few more of their books, and indeed once they've published a few more books, because their writing style and just the general way of writing appeals to me in some way for different reasons, which I'll explain when I get to them. Anyway, the first author is indeed a long-established author, and this is going to be a fairly easy one to guess for some people, because you can actually see this author's books in my videos all the time, and that includes right now, because that is Peter F. Hamilton, which is right there. Peter F. Hamilton is a science fiction author. He's well known for his space opera books, which he writes. Most of his books are indeed space opera. Some of his early ones were sort of alternatives to that, but they're still kind of space opera ultimately at the end of the day. At this point in time, as of 2018, he has written almost 20 books. I have read almost all of them, apart from 3, which I plan to read in the next few months. So within a few months I'll actually have read everything he's written. And I've enjoyed everything I have read by him so far today. I either think it's brilliant or think it's at most merely good. I've never read one of his books and thought, not very interesting, and just put it aside. Not once have done that, which is frankly unusual for an author, and indeed that is why Hamilton's on this list, because he's reliably good at writing large-scale, epic space opera with large amounts of characters, a suitably impressive plot, multiple locations, interesting and fantastic technology, and the plots do actually go together well. Yes, his books have little flaws in them, but frankly, no author is flawless. I mean, it'd be kind of impossible to be, so, but he's pretty damn reliable overall, and I'm really happy to read Peter Hamilton overall. The second author that I'm going to talk about is also a long-established author at this point, and again, this is an author that you might predict because I've reviewed many of his books, and that is China Miéville. Now, China Miéville is notable for being an author who writes in what is called the New Weird subgenre, sort of inspired by Lovecraft and other classics of the genre many years ago. His books are not the easiest to get into by any means. They're actually normally quite complex, and some people just find them frankly strange, and well, the new weird they just find too weird and just gets put off by it. Obviously I don't. I like his writing style. He tends to play around with language and linguistics a lot, which I obviously appreciate because I have a great interest in that. And one of his most well-known books, especially as of the moment because it's turned into a TV miniseries, with a normal series, I'm not sure, and that is The City and the City. This is a book that is slightly strange, hard to explain, because it's a guy who lives in a city that has another city within it, but you're not allowed to acknowledge the city exists, otherwise there'll be bad repercussions. It sounds strange, and it really is, and then some. Basically that's what China Miéville does. He has these strange ideas, he writes them with unusual use of language, but if you can cope with that, then you'll get a lot out of his books, because his books are just frankly brilliant, and I have really enjoyed everything I've read by today, and I plan to read the remaining books. I've read about half of his books at this point, or maybe slightly more than half, so I want to read the remains. The third author that is well established is an author that is fairly new to me, although she's a long established author and been writing for most of my life at this point, I believe, and that is Lois McMaster-Bujold. Now, I don't have any of her books in physical format. I read them all on ebooks. So the first two books in her two primary series, I will put a picture on the screen. And those two series is the Vorkosigan Saga, which is a science fiction series, currently 16 books with a bunch of novellas as well, and the World of the Five Gods, which starts off years ago with a trilogy with the Curse of Chalion, and then recently she has started a novella sort of series called the Penric and Desdemona series, which has got a lot of attention and indeed has got multiple award nominations. Like, she's been nominated for this year's awards, I believe, Hugo Awards. So she's a significant author, and one that I've really enjoyed, because all her books, both the Vorkosigan and the World of the Five Gods books and novellas, have just been frankly really enjoyable to read. They're just pure fun. They are, like the Vorkosigan for instance, big sort of space adventures with characters who have got some serious emotion behind them. They've also big adventures. They've got interesting locations, plot lines, everything you could want. And they're just a really good, well-written book, which is both thoughtful and meaningful and just raw fun. Because I haven't had so much fun reading a book outside of the Vorkosigan Saga for quite a long time, because they just are really funny and amusing, and a sense of humour is great to see in a book. I just really enjoy them overall. Next, it's time for the authors that are relatively new, and indeed authors that I predict will be authored by authors in a few more years' time, once I've read a few more of their books, and indeed once they've published a few more books. And the first of those authors is Malka Older. Now, Malka Older, so far I've only read one of her books, and that is Infomocracy, which was published 2 years ago. She published the second book last year, and the third book in the series will be published this year. The series is the Sentinel series, and this series is an interesting one because it has both environmental science in it and politics. Obviously, it is also a science fiction as well. It's a curious mixture, and one that I greatly enjoy and really like to explore. Now, Malka Older actually works within disaster and governance fields, sort of disaster management, I believe, and trying to sort of calculate ways to not let our built-up cities sort of be destroyed by natural disasters, whilst also making sure that we don't affect them too much, because obviously they are completely interlinked. The more that we do to the natural world, the more it's going to hit back on us. So we need to lighten that. Anyway, and indeed, Malka Older is probably one of the authors, one of the more recent authors, that I find to be interesting on a more personal level, because the field that she works in, which I've just talked about, is one that I find really interesting myself. And indeed, even though I don't work in it or have anything to do with it on a professional level myself, I've always had an interest in these areas, and as a result, her books, which has a link to this very obviously, she's not kind of surprising, it's write what you know. She knows this field, therefore she writes about it, works extremely well, and I am really looking forward to reading the second book, which I'm planning to read in the near future, and then the third book, which is released in, I believe, August or September this year, 2019. So overall, she's an interesting author, Malka is, and one that I'm interested to see what she'll come up with in the future. The second predicted author is one that has become quite popular on BookTube over the last few years, and frankly, it's understandable why, because I've really enjoyed her books recently, and that is Emma Newman. Now, one of her most well-known books recently is Planetfall. This is the start of a series which currently she has just released the third book of, which I also happen to read and did a review of, which I'll link in the description box below if you're interested. I also reviewed this one as well, I believe, which I'll link as well. And she's known for both science fiction and fantasy. Her fantasy series, at least the most well-known one, is called the Split World series, which I believe is 5 books. Last time I knew, I believe that is a completed series. I haven't tried that yet, but I am quite eager to try it, because going by just her Planet 4 and the 3rd book, which was only just released, she is an author that has some very interesting ideas and really puts quite a lot of emotion into what she writes, because these books they have a very surprisingly personal feel to them, and that's nothing that you always get with a lot of books. And it's something that I like to say I wouldn't want to see too often, because the characters do go through kind of an emotional ordeal, and they go through the ringer, as you might say. But it is nice to see occasionally, and Emma Newman does that extremely well. And frankly, she's a really impressive author. She's not super new. I mean, relatively speaking, she's actually been writing for about 6 or 7 years now. But she's fairly new, I'd say, and she's definitely new to me. So that's why I'm including on this list. She's one that's only just about making it on this list, frankly. If she'd been writing another year or two, she'd be too sort of established by that point to actually be able to include. But she's just about new enough. And the third new to me author, who is also an auto-buy author, well, predicted auto-buy author, is K.B. Wages. Now, at this point, K.B. Wages has written 3 books, the first of which is Behind the Throne. This is his first book in the Indranan War trilogy. She's writing currently another book set within the same world, but the start of a new series. I have a feeling that this world that she's got in this book, which is a really interesting one, she will be able to expand on and keep writing series within it for as long as she wants. Personally, I predict that she probably won't. She'll probably write one more series within it, maybe a few little offshoot books, and that will be it. And then I reckon she'll call it a day, because sometimes keep continuously writing books set within the same world, even though it might be a really interesting one, can overkill a world and doesn't do the author any favours. I reckon that, personally, that's what K.B. Wages will do. I'm kind of hoping that's what happens, because otherwise it will do, as I say, it can get a bit much, I think, sometimes when you just go too much about one world, especially when it's not just one series, when it's like multiple series, even with the main character, which this next series will be, will feature the same character as this. It can be a bit much. So I think 1 or 2 series, maybe 3, and you got an interesting world. K.B. Wages, this is a science fiction book with some interesting characters, interesting setup, and the action scenes and the writing is frankly quite impressive to see. And I am very eager to see what her new series set within this world is going to be like, because I find I'm just really eager and quite curious to see what she'll make of it, because the way the world develops in this trilogy is interesting, and where it could go from there is going to be pretty hard, I think, because it could go in some pretty positive ways, it could go in some pretty negative ways, as far as, a positive or negative world is concerned. That means the writing will be pretty solidly good, I believe. So with that said, that's it for this video. I've tried to choose authors that are both interesting and obviously meet the auto-buy author requirement. Now, overall, I have a lot of authors other than these that I would class as auto-buy, due to the fact that I'm the sort of person that when I find an author that I like, I tend to slowly over time, or ideally fairly quickly over a short time, try to buy everything and read everything that the author has done. I'll go through their entire back catalogue, preferably as fast as I can, because I really get into an author. This video could have included 20 plus authors, frankly, but I had to very carefully think where I wanted that cut-off point to be, and I had to think about what authors that I really want to include, that I think deserve possibly more recognition, and also authors that I don't think are mentioned as often on BookTube and other places as certain other authors. So it's a hard choice to make, frankly, with some of these authors, but I think I've chosen pretty interesting ones overall. Anyway, if you like any of these 6 authors, or you'd like to try them, then please leave a comment and we can have a talk. please feel free to let me know what your auto-buy offers are, and indeed if you have any sort of different requirements or different ideas on what a auto-buy offer means to you, then please let me know, because this is an interesting idea as a whole. And with that said, that is it for this video. All my social media links as well as the things that I mentioned will be found in the description box below. And with that is it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.